Welcome back to episode 122 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow Podcast. My name is Josh. As always, I'm here with Troy. What's going on, good buddy?
Not a whole lot right now. Crazy day. Had our first practice of my son's new hockey season. Long day, a lot of stuff going on, but now it's time to record late night recording.
So he just found out what team he was on yesterday, and they already practiced the next day.
Yep, you find out the team, and then it's game on. And we have all the practices, or not all the practices, but we're pretty stacked for the next week. And then they keep adding stuff as the schedule opens. The ice scheduler figures everything out. And then found out all our tournaments and all that fun stuff.
Gotta be like the worst job ever, be an ice scheduler, especially when you're in a huge town in a state where it's very, very uncommon to have one sheet of ice, which we do in our dumb town. So it must be a total nightmare for that person.
If you really want a job, so Edina, Minnesota, if no one's familiar, it's a huge hockey town. We call them the cake eaters. They're always good. They always win a lot of things. They have, I want to say 1, 2, 3, maybe four or five sheets of ice. Their ice scheduler is a full-time job, 6 figures.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Edina, Minnesota is so big that I think if you put it by itself, by USA Hockey registrations, it would be the third biggest in the country. Like there'd be a couple states like Minnesota, and then I don't know who's next, Massachusetts, Michigan. Then Edina would be third if you did it like that.
Only here, man, in the state of hockey. And since when in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities, is it 90 degrees on October 1st?
Yeah, this is
That's
crazy.
The other thing that just blew my mind today. Is out walking the dog and almost passed out. But good thing I didn't, Troy, because this could be, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the most research we've ever done for a single show. It's ridiculous. I thought really long and hard if we should make this a 2-parter.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, of course, we're recording at 10:30 at night, which is all sorts of genius. And we have a 3 a.m. publishing deadline. So we'll see if we're alive at the end of this. Because of that, we better get going. Just one quick reminder, though, before we get started. The Hockey Cards Gongshow Podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on support of listeners like yourself to, help us cover our show expenses, continue to produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey card hobby. Right now, you can join our out of $1.99 support level tier on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. That gets you exclusive access to our Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server. You can participate, chat with us on a regular basis. We have a bunch of games, challenges, fantasy leagues, a whole bunch of stuff we do there. It's a lot of fun. The people are amazing. It's super easy to do. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page. Or if you want, just go to the Patreon website directly at patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description for the podcast app you're listening to us on, or YouTube if you're watching us there. And then finally, in our Instagram and TikTok profiles in our link tree, there's a link to our Patreon there. Troy, since our last show, we have 2 new patrons, which we're very, very grateful for, and we want to thank from the bottom of our hearts. Both Jets Collector and Jay Miller have joined our out of $1.99 support level tier. Thank you guys very, very much. All right, Troy, ready for the game plan?
We begin today's show with the greatest NHL player to wear, number 22. Then we continue our 2023-24 season preview by doing a rookie mega preview. Then it's off to hobby news, followed by new product releases. We then tackle another edition of the Gong Show mailbag, and we end with personal pickups. All right, Josh, we are on episode 122. Holy cow, we're getting close to the end of the numbers. 23 is the last one. So the most famous number 22, and this one I'm actually really excited about, is this guy right here, Mike Bossy.
That's an awesome picture.
Yep, awesome picture. One of my favorites. I definitely PC him. I like to collect his autograph cards, but I was really excited. And I'm going to upfront say today was crazy. The last couple of days have been crazy. I don't think I did as much research as I wanted to on Bossy, but we have a lot of good stuff anyways. Runners up at number 22 were Daniel Sedin, Rick Tocchet, and Dino Ciccarelli, which threw me for a loop because I remember Ciccarelli on the North Stars, and he was number 20. But that was the only team he was 24. He was 22 the rest of his career. So it kind of threw me for a little loop. But once I looked it up, I was good. All right, Mike Bossy, right winger from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Bossy was the 15th overall pick in the 1977 NHL Amateur Draft by the New York Islanders. Bossy played in 752 regular season NHL games over a 10-season NHL career. Bossy played his entire career with the New York Islanders. All right, for his awards and accomplishments, even he had a short career, he has lots of awards and accomplishments. Hall of Famer, 4-time Stanley Cup winner, 1977-78 Calder winner, 1-time Conn Smythe winner, 3-time Lady Byng winner, 5-time NHL first All-Star team selection, 3-time NHL second All-Star team selection, 7-time NHL All-Star game selection, named one of the 100 greatest NHL players by NHL.com, ranked number 12 in the Athletics top NHL players in the post-expansion era, and his number 22 is retired by the New York Islanders. Over the course of his NHL regular season career, Bossy had 573 goals, which puts him 22nd all-time, 553 assists, which is actually 126th all-time, 1,126 points, which puts him tied at 62nd with Joe Nieuwendyk. Bossy made the playoffs in all 10 of his NHL seasons, compiling 85 goals, 75 assists for 160 points in 129 NHL playoff games played. I know Josh likes to say this isn't a math show, but that's more than a point per game. I actually didn't do the math.
That is more than a point per game.
It's more than a point per game. I'm glad we could figure that much out. All right. Throwing out Bossy's 10th and final season, where his back was an absolute mess and his knees were shot, Bossy never scored less than 91 points in a season. In those 9 seasons, Bossy had 7 seasons of 117 or more points. Again, throwing out that 10th season, Bossy never scored less than 51 goals in a season.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts for how short his career was.
Even his rookie year, huh?
Yeah, yep. Of those 9 seasons, he had 4 seasons in the 50-goal range and 5 seasons in the 60-goal range. Best season of his NHL career from a point standpoint was his 1981-82 season, where Bossy had 64 goals, 83 assists for 147 points in 80 games played. I love this picture. If you're watching on YouTube, it's one of my favorite pictures ever of Bossy. So Bossy is outright one of the most prolific goal scorers in NHL history. He is the NHL's all-time leader in average goals scored per regular season game. He holds the NHL's 3rd highest all-time average points scored per regular season game, and is the 2nd of 5 players to score 50 goals in 50 games, being the first to accomplish this feat 36 years after Maurice Richard did it. He tied for the record for most 50-goal seasons with Wayne Gretzky and Alexander Ovechkin with 9, though Bossy's were consecutive as opposed to Gretzky's and Ovechkin's being non-consecutive. He thus is the sole record holder for most consecutive 50-goal seasons. I just wanted to show how much he's a prolific goal scorer, and I think this picture matches with that, what I just read, where his stick's on fire. It's pretty fun. Bossy retired after 10 seasons as his back was absolutely a mess. His knees were getting shot, and he didn't feel like he would ever be able to play to his expectation level again. So he called it quits, which I give a lot of respect to. And even that last season, I think, I'm going off the top of my head, I think he had 38 goals, which is pretty good for, basically hobbling around on your last leg and back.
Do you know what made him such a good goal scorer?
He had super quick shot, hard shot, and he actually said he never really aimed. He just fired and tried to be quick and change angles, kind of like Bedard, and would just fire away. And that's kind of what he did. But he also said, and his teammates have said this, if you watch highlights, you can see where he puts it 5-hole, but Bossy said he was able to get the puck up on edge, and he could actually shoot the puck at the 5-hole, but the puck would be upright. So it would have a narrower spot it could go through, but the goalie's legs coming down, a wider 5-hole to go in. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, he's just one of those guys. He never said he was really a sniper, but he could just fire and find, he obviously knew where he was shooting. But it's the speed of his shot, the quickness, just a great prolific goal scorer. So to me, Bossy might be, and I've said this before on the show, one of the greatest what ifs in hockey history. What if he could have played healthy hockey for 15 to 20 years? And what would his final numbers be? But it just wasn't meant to be. Plus, Bossy is somewhat overshadowed in his era by obviously Gretzky and the Oilers. He kind of came in at the wrong time, I guess, because he's completely overshadowed by Gretzky. And if you read some earlier interviews, Bossy actually held animosity towards that. He was kind of bitter that, the Islanders win 4 cups, but he's still no one really gave us credit. It's all about Gretzky and the Oilers during that decade, which, let's be honest, Gretzky and the Oilers were a machine, and Gretzky being the greatest player of all time. After his playing career, Bossy became the vice president of Titan Hockey Sticks. He also did broadcast work for the Quebec Nordiques. He then expanded his horizons and did morning radio show work, which I love, as a host of a morning program in Montreal. And he also had some other business ventures. Now, Josh, here's pretty interesting. After retiring, Bossy was unable to find a job with an NHL organization for 15 years until the Islanders hired him as an ambassador. Obviously, that seems very odd. He wanted to work in the game. He said he thought when Brian Trottier got hired as a head coach, I can't remember if it was in the Islanders or who it was for, that he would be brought on staff because him and Trottier were like best friends. And they were roomies on the road when they played. They talked about running a team, but it just kind of wasn't meant to be. And I don't think Trottier was a coach for that long, maybe 1 year, 2 years as a head coach.
Well, I was going to ask if he had an abrasive personality.
I don't think so. You read everything about him. He seems like a great guy. Lady Bing winner. He wasn't a thug or anything on the ice. But I don't know. Maybe there was something there. But it just was very odd. It was something that kind of bugged him for the rest of his career, basically, until he got with the Islanders after 15 years of being an ambassador. Unfortunately, most people know Mike Bossy passed away in 2022 at the age of 65. All right, Josh, fun, interesting facts. Nickname was Boss. Makes sense. I couldn't find why he wore 22. I did some research and didn't find anything. Mike Bossy is the only player to record 4 game-winning goals in one playoff series.
Wow.
It was the 1983 conference finals. Bossy was a member of the Trio Grande line, which consisted of Hall of Famers Brian Trottier at center, Clark Gillies at left wing, and Mike Bossy at right wing. I think I like the Trio Grande line. That's nice. I like that name.
Yeah, I wonder where that came from, though.
I have no clue. I think, did I read? No, I didn't. I can't remember. I'm sure someone will tell us, or it's probably pretty easy to find. I know there's a whole Wikipedia entry on the Trio Grande line. Bossy is one of those players. He scored a goal in his first game, not on his first shot. Bossy's rookie season, here we go, rookie season, Josh. Bossy's rookie season goals of 53 was an NHL record, which stood until Teemu Selanne absolutely obliterated it with 76 goals in his rookie season of 1992-93. At the time of Bossy's 500th goal, he was the fastest player to 500 goals in NHL history. However, this was broken by Wayne Gretzky and then Mario Lemieux. Here's one I didn't know. The Los Angeles Kings acquired Wayne Gretzky in the summer of 1988, and owner Bruce McNall and general manager, I think I don't know, is it Roji Vachon?
Yeah.
Each invited Bossy to sign with the team as a free agent. However, Bossy declined this offer again, believing he would not have been able to meet expectations. But that's a great what if too. Could you imagine Gretzky and Bossy playing on the same team? That'd have been pretty nuts. Final fun fact, Mike Bossy averaged 57.3 goals per season during his career.
That's insane.
Yeah. Obviously, Gretzky's up there, but I just love Mike Bossy. I remember watching him as a kid playing, loved him as a player, still PC him. I'm very sad when he passed, but a great NHL player. So Mike Bossy's rookie card, 1978-79 OPG, number 115. PSA 10 has a pop of 7, Josh. Jeez. This might be the lowest gem rate we've seen, 0.46%. I don't remember any other ones being that low, but that's pretty low. last sale was for $43,200 US on November 17th, 2022 via Heritage Auctions. So if another one comes up, you're going to have to pony up a pretty penny. But I love this card. I don't have it. I have a raw copy. I don't have any graded copies, but it's one of my favorite cards. Love Mike Bossy. Loved him as a player. So that's what we got for Mr. Bossy at number 22.
All right, one more left. And then we have to figure something out.
We'll make it up on the fly, I guess.
All right, Trey, we're going to continue our 2023-24 hobby preview series. This time we're going to do a very deep dive into the 2023-24 NHL rookie class. And so all the players we're going to cover today are Calder Trophy eligible rookies heading into the 2023-24 season. So I think like the two main requirements are you can't have played more than 25 games in one prior season or 6 games in each of 2 prior seasons. And you have to be under 26. You can't be as old as Andrei Kuzmenko.
I was to say, you can't be an old dude.
Yeah, like Kuzmenko was last year. Now we're gonna go through a lot of players. So I'm just kind of, warning everybody in that regard. And we're trying to do like quick hitting stuff here. We are going to bring back our rookie deep dive series in a week or two as the season gets underway. And so then we'll be able to, we'll do what we always do is do social media polls. You guys will pick which player you want to do a deep dive, and we'll get much more detailed about each player as we do that. One important note I want to make is that before we get started is that not all the players we're going to cover are a lock to make the NHL rosters either. So we're still in that. We're in the middle of camp, essentially. A lot of these guys are very young, and they have the option to either go back to juniors or start in the AHL. The situation is dependent on how loaded the team is at their position, or maybe how unloaded the team is at their position, if that makes sense, and how much opportunity there is. And so don't be surprised if some of these guys do not start the season with their team. Or you also often see, too, where they will make the team and then they play the minimum required or maximum required games, like 8 or 9 games before they can go back to juniors or something like that. So we could see a fair amount of that, too. Okay, we broke them down into really 3 different categories and kind of did it based on the hobby. So the first category we're going to look at are Calder eligible rookies whose Young Guns cards are actually out already. And these are cards you could buy today. Then we're going to look at the guys that we're expecting to be in Series 1, and then finally guys that have a shot to be in Series 2. Are we ready?
Ready.
Okay, so again, we're going to start with the Calder eligible rookies that we think have a good chance to make some steam or produce some steam in the NHL this year and maybe some hobby momentum. And these are guys whose Young Guns are already out and can be bought already. And we're going to start on the blue line, Troy, and in Columbus with David Jiricek from the Columbus Blue Jackets, of course, a defenseman. So last season, Troy Jiricek led all under age 20 defensemen in scoring in the AHL. With Cleveland, the Columbus AHL affiliate, he had 6 goals, 32 assists for 38 points in 55 games played. It was his first season in North America since being drafted and coming over from Czechia. He was up with the Blue Jackets for a cup of coffee, playing 4 games, and was held off the score sheet. So that's why he has a Young Guns, because he hit the ice with the Blue Jackets. And I think the biggest question around Jiricek is, can he find a way into one of the defensive spots on the NHL roster, which you might be a little bit surprised is going to actually be somewhat competitive. So Columbus is getting Zach Werenski back this year. They added Damon Severson from New Jersey, and then they signed Ivan Provorov as well in the offseason. So those guys are going to take up some spots. It's definitely a roster battle you're going to want to watch during Blue Jackets training camp. Very highly thought of, seen as, aside from Fantilli, as maybe their top prospect. He is a 2022-23 Young Guns. His PSA 10 pop 39% gem rate. Last sold for $45 US on August 31st. And he's just, again, one of these guys in Columbus that they have a lot of young, interesting talent that could make them an interesting team from a hobby perspective down the road.
Yeah, we actually have a question about that, I think, coming up or later in the show about interesting teams. Mailbag. Yeah, and definitely Columbus is one of those teams. couple, not a really a point on him, but the whole, you brought up Czechia, right? Where he's from. If you look at our Instagram show post, a listener, and I apologize for not remembering the name, gave us a great history on Czechoslovakia and Czechia because we were asking about it. So that was nice to see. So now we have some, I don't know,
nice little reference to last show there, Troy. Love how you tied it in.
Yep, there you go.
All right, we're going to keep moving. The next guy we know quite a bit about.
Yes.
So Marco Rossi of our beloved Minnesota Wild, he's a center. He was supposed to make a pretty big impact for our team last season, but was sent back to the AHL, Troy, after 19-game stint where he scored no goals and had 1 assist. Now, I know we've already said this isn't a math show, but I think that's 1 point, and that's not good in 19 games. Much has been made of Rossi's struggles with long COVID and how that might have hampered his development. So he did get sent back to the Iowa Wild in the AHL. He was almost a point-per-game player, though, last season. He scored 16 goals, added 35 assists for 51 points in 53 games played. Here's the thing. The Wild are desperate for another center. We need one bad, and we are counting on this kid in a big-time way. So we just talked about Jurasek, and, well, is there a spot in the NHL, the top 3 pairings for the Blue Jackets? The Wild, it's not going to be good if he doesn't work out. And so it's really his spot to lose. And honestly, because the Wild don't seem to want to put Joel Eriksson Ek on they want to keep him away from Kaprizov and Zuccarello, I think probably to balance out his scoring a little bit. There's a chance that if Rossi comes in and proves he's ready to make the jump, at some point this year, he could be centering Kaprizov and Zuccarello, which would provide him a lot of scoring opportunities. Thoughts on Rossi?
I think the Wild are doing everything in their power to make sure this guy makes the roster. They're giving him plenty of opportunity. Obviously, with this short stint with us last year, it just didn't go well. And if he had long COVID, you don't like excuses, but hey, that stinks. Look at was it Bert Hooten or who retired? Who's taking the year off?
It's Johnny Toews.
Johnny Taves taking the year off. It's a serious issue, and hopefully that's all past him, and he can make the roster because he's exciting. The Wild are high on him. Garen's talked about him, so I'm excited to see. Hopefully he can make the roster and do some good things this year.
He's one of those guys that the Wild have been pumping the tires on for a long time now, and it's his time. And I just hope he's ready. I just hope that that start last year didn't get in his head too much, and he was able to get past that. So Marco Rossi is a 2022-23 Young Guns. His PSA 10, Troy, has a pop of 278, has a 37% gem rate, last sold for $50 on September 21st. Okay, another guy with a little bit of a bumpy season last year, but a big hobby player, Shane Wright. And I think the most important thing to know right now about Shane Wright is that the Kraken were granted within the last week by the OHL an exemption, giving them the right to send him to the AHL this season if he's unable to make the NHL team. He's still not old enough where he would have to go back to the CHL. And I think that from what I understand, he's kind of too good to be in the CHL, but thought of not good enough to play in the NHL. Maybe. And so it's been a little bit of a sticky spot for them. Now, all this being said, Troy, I'm not aware the Blackhawks are making similar agreements for Connor Bedard.
I don't think they need to. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad they got the exemption. And I think there's a lot of rumblings right now that rule has to change. I think the NHLPA wants it changed. They gotta. I don't know who at the end of the day needs to get in a room and figure it out, but I think the rumblings are starting, and maybe I'm sure it's been before Shane Wright, but it's like maybe this rule needs to be looked at again and I don't know, changed, or maybe exemptions are easier to get. I don't know, but
here's why it's important though. They're not going through all this effort if they're super confident he's ready to make the team and be a solid contributor. So it is a clear sign that they're at the most optimistic, unsure at this point, or potentially even confident that he's not going to be on the NHL roster, at least to start the year. On the positive side, though, if you want to take the optimistic perspective, the Kraken have lost a number of key forwards from last year's team. So there is an opening for some young talent to come in and insert themselves. And this is another camp battle to watch and see what Wright does. If he can prove he's ready to play at the NHL level, or if he ends up going down to the AHL. And at this point, Troy, if there's even a shred of worry, or do you have even a shred of worry creeping in that just nothing seems to be going to according to plan with Shane Wright? Are you where he was thought of a big time prospect and number one overall pick potential, and now even before training camp begins, his team is making sure that he can get sent to the AHL.
Yeah, I'll say this: I'm in the camp. I just looked up his age to make sure, but I think I'm still in that. He's very young. This stuff might happen. It's just how he mentally. I hope he doesn't get mentally wrecked from it. That's my big worry with him. But if they start him again in the NHL, or he gets his NHL stint and doesn't do anything and gets sent back down, then I'm worried again. But again, he's still 19 though. That keeps creeping in my head that he's 19 still, and he's got time to develop.
I can't think of another player who's been put through more mentally than
the whole.
We're about a year from the Shane Wright press box. Yeah, I was just gonna say all that crazy stuff he went through last year and how kind of inherently embarrassing some of that stuff would be. That's a lot to deal with for an 18-year-old to go from, oh, you're gonna be the number one pick to your grandparents are in town and you've spent 4 straight games in the press box.
And I still want him to be. I want him to be successful because I love the stare down. I mean, say what you want if he wasn't doing it, he was doing it. I think he was doing it. I love the stare down at the table to Montreal. I love that moment, and I want him to succeed.
Shane Wright is a 2022-23 Young Guns. PSA 10 pop 200, 32% gem rate. Last sold for 122 US on September 28th. So a lot of hype still at 122.
Yep. Still
you notice that a lot of these gem rates for last year's Young Guns are very low, which is a good thing for long-term values, bad thing for people opening boxes and trying to get PSA 10s by submitting their cards. So the next guy that could turn some heads this year is Brandt Clarke, a young LA Kings defenseman. Now, had you been hearing his name a little bit this summer in different podcasts I listened to, articles I've read, I feel like his name had come up a bit. And so when I saw it as a potential Calder candidate, it really got me interested to do a little bit more digging and research into Brandt Clarke. Or were you sort of unaware?
I'm unaware of Brandt Clarke. Obviously I've heard his name and stuff, but I haven't heard probably as much as you have. You probably listen to more podcasts. So
yeah. He's a 20-year-old Kings defenseman, was the 8th overall pick in 2021 NHL entry draft. Started last season with the Kings, had one of those 9-game stints. He did not score, but did have a couple of assists. So check this out, Troy. Then he went back to the Barry Colts in the CHL.
One of those.
Yeah. He scored 23 goals, added 38 assists for 61 points in 31 games played. Just under 2 points per game as a defenseman. That is not bad.
I was gonna say, did they move him to forward or what happened there? Jeez, that's crazy.
He also shined for Canada in last year's World Junior Championships, scoring 2 goals, adding 6 assists for 8 points in 7 games played. Now, one kind of bummer is he did have a minor shoulder issue coming into camp, did not make the trip to Melbourne with the rest of the Kings roster for the Global Series that happened a week or so ago, but I think he is playing in preseason games now back in North America. I think it seems like the odds are he's going to make the team out of camp and will likely start at a third pairing capacity, but he's got some goal scoring ability. He's a point producer. The Kings are very, very high on him. Brandt Clarke is a 2022-23 Young Guns, PSA 10, pop 80, 35% gem rate, last sold for 111 US dollars on September 23rd. That seems really high, doesn't it?
Seems high, but maybe if that rumblings and the hype.
Yeah, I think there's a big undercurrent of hype for him. Okay, so the last guy of Calder candidates that has a Young Guns card out, we got to end with the goalie, Troy, in honor of you.
End with the goalie.
So I think, is it Joel Hofer?
I always thought it was Hofer, but...
Hofer. Yeah, you think there'd be 2 Fs with Hofer.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Joel Hofer. Not good enough where people know how to pronounce his name. So we're just gonna, he hasn't established himself. I'm not gonna say he's not good enough. So from what's coming out of Blues camp, it looks like Hofer is the favorite to be Jordan Binghamton's backup this season for the Blues and should see a bunch of action. He had a tiny bit of NHL playing action, playing 2 games in 2021-22, 6 games last season, so that makes him Calder eligible. Last year, he was 3-1-1 in 6 games started. He had a 3.22 goals against, .905 save percentage. He played most of the year, though, with the Springfield Thunderbirds, where he was 27, 15, and 5, 2.5 goals against, .921 save percentage. If Binnington struggles or becomes a head case,
which could very well happen.
Could very well happen. There's a world, too, where people think that Hofer takes over the top spot by the end of the season. At minimum, it's thought he should get in at 30 or so games.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this. He's a 2020 young gun, PSA 10, pop 93, 78% gem rate. Last sold for 48 US on September 22nd. These are I understand these cards. If you're watching on YouTube, it was COVID. They couldn't do photo shoots. They weren't on the ice. They're these like JCPenney portrait studio headshots, and they're the most awful. I would be so sad if my rookie year was 2020 and this is what my young guns look like. And there's a million of them.
Yes.
They're just brutal.
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can tell he's sad. Look at that picture. He's sad that this is his card. I love the JCPenney portrait shot. It's just cracks me up. Like glamour shots or Sears. We get it, but it's one of those kind of funny cards.
You can tell we're getting old too by how young these kids look.
Yep.
Oh, it's crazy. These are NHL players. Okay, so those are potential Calder candidates for guys that already have their Young Guns cards out. Now we're going to switch to what's called as holdover rookies. So these are Series 1 candidates. These guys do not have a Young Guns card yet, but they have played in NHL games, which does make them eligible for Series 1. And we got to start with probably the most logical candidate. I'm guessing the guy who will be, if I had to bet right now, the biggest chase in Series 1. Near and dear to our hearts, Troy. Yes. Former Golden Gopher Matthew Knies made a bit of a splash at the end of last season when he was called up to the Maple Leafs for a couple of regular season games. And he had a pretty decent postseason run before he was injured in Game 2 of the Maple Leafs second-round series with the Florida Panthers. Got a concussion thanks to Sam Bennett. Got trucked pretty good there and did miss the rest of the season. So for the Gophers last season, he had 21 goals, 21 assists, even production, 42 points in 40 games played. Took the Gophers, or helped them get to the national championship game. Lost, which is the total Minnesota thing. Then he had 0 goals, 1 assist in 3 regular season games with the Maple Leafs, and 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points in 7 playoff games with the Leafs, but just played really, really good for a rookie call-up in a big moment for in a huge pressure cooker situation with a team that was trying to get out of the first round for the first time in a million years. And I think impressed a lot of people. So much so, and he's been, I think, pretty impressive in camp too, that there's a good chance Knies ends up in a top 6 role on a second line with guys. They're saying like maybe Tavares and Nylander, which should give him plenty of opportunity to score points. I don't think he's going to be a first power play unit type guy because they have a lot of offensive talent on that team, but maybe second unit. And like I said, I expect him to be one of the bigger, if not biggest, chase in Series 1. Are you a Matthew Knies guy? Do you think he can be an NHL star? Or is he just going to be a really, really good NHL player?
Right now, I'm going to go with really good NHL player, but my experience with Knies obviously was with the Gophers, and he played 2 years, if I remember right, and he was over a point per player game. He was fantastic with the Gophers, and I'm glad to see when he came up. I did read some of the press on him and the stories, and everyone was pretty impressed with how well he did. So I'm hoping he can continue that. I would love for him to be a star, but right now I'm going to go with really, really good NHL player.
I'm kind of thinking that way too. Got to go back to the goalies, Troy, for our next guy.
Love it.
Your guy,
Love
Jedi
it.
Master, goalie himself, Devin Levi, who of course has become known for his Jedi-esque meditation during puck stoppages. Also happens to be a really good goalie prospect, right, for your Buffalo Sabres.
Yep.
Levi is another kid that got called up after the NCAA season last year, in which he went 17, 12, 5, 34 games started, 2.24 goals against, .933 save percentage at Northeastern University. I have no idea if they were any good, so it's hard to judge sometimes goalies' numbers when.
Oh, he was a stud. He had multiple.
No, I mean, I'm saying, like, was his team good?
Oh, I can't remember what Northeastern, if they were any good or not.
Is that a big college program? Maybe even
it's getting bigger. It's one of those that's growing.
And then in 7 games with the Sabres, he went 5-2, 2.94 goals against, .905 save percentage to close out the 2022-23 season. We've talked about the Sabres quite a bit.
Yep.
I think we're in agreement. They're an exciting young team. They should score tons of points, should challenge for a playoff spot. But the big question mark has been and continues to be, do they have a goalie, or do they have a goalie that can push them into the playoffs and can put the team on his back when the team needs it? If Levi can come in, solidify himself as the guy, continue doing his kind of cool Jedi meditation. He's awesome in interviews too. They've got a really unique perspective. I think he could be a star. He's got the personality. He's got like the cool meditation thing. He's great interview, like I said. And if he can just play well, then he should be on a great young team. So a lot of potential here, and should be really exciting to watch. I think what we even joked about, you need a current goalie to PC.
I do. He's it. I'm PCing him. I know. I'm going to start PCing him. And I can't wait for his Young Guns card to come out. I want to get it. I want to find it. I want to get it right away and not overpay like a sucker. So I'll be smart there. But everything you read about this guy, and like you said, the interviews and kind of his personality, the Jedi stuff, it's just, I love it. He seems like a really interesting character. If you have athletic subscriptions, they do a really good deep dive. And he actually talks about the whole meditation thing and how it brought him out of like some really bad personal mental space and doubting himself and all that stuff. So it's really interesting story to see him. And I hope he rocks it and becomes the starter in Buffalo.
If his Young Guns photo is not in the meditative pose, are we calling for a congressional investigation?
Yes.
Would you be really disappointed if that?
Just imagine it. I mean, I love this picture, but having it straight on. I've seen the pictures of straight on with him in this pose, and you could make it look really cool. I hope they do something like that.
Okay, next guy we want to talk about is brother Luke Troy, the third, maybe some contend fourth Hughes brother. Now in the NHL, of course, we have Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes, Luke Hughes, and some may say Jack Quinn. That's just a rumor, of course, that we made up, but a rumor nonetheless. He's yet another college player that stepped up at the end of the season and made some noise in the NHL. After producing 10 goals, 38 assists for 48 points for the poor man's U of M, which would be University of Michigan Wolverines, not the highfalutin U of M, which would be the University of Minnesota. Last season, he added a goal and assist in 2 regular season games for the Devils, 2 assists in 2 playoff games played as well. Again, played really well when he was called up to the Devils. I don't think the spotlight is too big for him. He's one of these young offensive defensemen, kind of fitting the mold, what NHL teams like to see these days. He'll be on a very, very good team. He could play as high as a second pairing, possibly on the second power play unit this season. We'll have to see how it shakes out. There's sort of the novelty of him, Jack Hughes being a huge star and them being brothers on the same team. So even for a defenseman, I expect him to be a pretty decent Series 1 chase. I would be shocked if he's not. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he'll be a chase. And I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, we say you can only have 1 or 2 hobby stars. Yeah. What about 1 or 2 brothers? Can he be a big hobby chase with his brother? But maybe ride some of that Hughes name. And I think he will be a decent chase because he seems pretty exciting now. Again, D-man. So we'll see.
It seems like he is I shouldn't say much, but he's more of a goal scorer than brother Quinn. Can they change the names of their jerseys to be Brother Jack, Brother Luke, and Brother Quinn.
And only if the NHL decides to go the XFL route where they let them put whatever name they wanted.
He hate me thing.
Yep, he hate me is the one everyone remembers.
Okay, that's Luke Hughes. Next guy, maybe a dark horse candidate, Luke Evangelista. Potentially flying a little under the radar, Troy. First of all, what a sweet name. I think I want my last name to be Evangelista. I just like saying it.
Yeah.
And really, how bad do the Predators need a hobby chase? Like, they need a young, talented goal scorer. So the 21-year-old Evangelista scored 111 points with 55 goals in 62 games played in his last year in the OHL, which was in 2021-22. Then last year, he started in the AHL with your favorite team, Troy, the Milwaukee Admirals. Scored 9 goals, adding 32 assists for 41 points in 49 games played before being called up to the Predators. Funny, he played in 24 games, again, retaining his Calder Trophy eligibility for the season, and was fairly impressive. 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points, 24 games played. So, fun fact, right? We don't usually do fun facts in this, but we have to hear. He has quite the family tree. Evangelista has some famous cousins. One of them is Hockey Hall of Famer Brendan Shanahan.
Pretty good.
And then the other is supermodel Linda Evangelista.
So I was typing away, looking up, because that name, I'm like, Evangelista. Hey, I was a kid back then. And I was like, I think that was a model. And I looked it up and I was looking to see if it was like his mom, but you just answered that. It's a cousin. Okay, cool.
He has a great opportunity to be a key contributor for the Predators this season if everything goes according to plan. So he might be one of these ones to scoop up, especially if prices are a little soft. Maybe when Series 1 comes out, if everyone's focused on Matthew Nyes or Jedi Master Devin Levi or whoever, Brother Luke, maybe Evangelista could be a smart play. So you have Eddie, heard of him before, Troy? Any thoughts on him? Has Pekka had him over for dinner yet? Is he mentoring him?
I doubt Pekka's mentoring him, but maybe she's telling him how to score on goalies. But no, I've heard the name. I just didn't know that much about him. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I like his pedigree in the OHL. It's pretty fascinating and exciting.
Okay, we're going to go back to the blue line here. And we did so much. We did actually, believe it or not, we did a ton of research for the show. And there's a couple things I just didn't have time to do. So I'm going to have a bit of name anxiety coming up here. The first one is it's either Simon or Simon Edvinsson. Simon. Do you have any idea?
It looks to me like it's Simon. Simone would have an E at the end, right?
Yeah, Simon Edvinsson. We're going with that. He is the number 1 prospect for the Detroit Red Wings. Was the 6th overall pick in the 2021 NHL entry draft. Is a huge kid.
Yeah.
6'6", 207 pounds. He did not make the Wings roster out of last season's training camp. Ended up playing in the AHL. Scoring 5 goals, adding 22 assists for 27 points, 52 games played. He was called up at the end of last season, played 9 games with the Red Wings, notching 2 assists. The key thing to know about Edvinsson is that he did have shoulder surgery this offseason, so that cost him some summer training, summer development, and could maybe hamper a little bit his chances to make the Red Wings at the start of the season. I do expect him, though, to be a Series 1 Young Guns. Probably a little bit more of the prospect at this point than an NHL producer you can count on, but he is their number 1 prospect. He's very, very highly thought of, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yep. Agreed.
It all depends really how the next week or so goes. Had you heard of Edvinsson before?
I have, and to me, I'm with you in the camp of a really good prospect. Might be just a really good D-man. Who knows if the points will come, because the hobby loves their points, even in D-man, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, and the last guy, this is where I have total name anxiety. Do you know this one? Because I know he was kind of a big deal in the playoffs. It's Ty. Is it Cardi? Cardi?
Yeah. I'm going to go Ty. Just call him Ty.
Ty K.
Ty K.
Sorry, Kraken fans. I'll look it up. I just forgot today. Not an excuse, but Ty K. He is the reigning AHL Rookie of the Year, Troy. And sure made most of his NHL debut last postseason for the Kraken. A 22-year-old forward scored 3 goals, added 2 assists for 5 points in 10 playoff games. That was after a very impressive AHL season with the Coachella Valley, in Coachella Valley, where he had 28 goals, 29 assists for 57 points, 72 games played. And when you look back at his pedigree, whether youth hockey in the OHL or AHL, he's always been a goal scorer, averaging more than 0.5 goals per game, and actually added it all up in his entire hockey career. You looking up a pronunciation?
I was, and the pronunciation guys are such a mess because I don't really know how to read them. Of course, it looks like it's High Cartier.
Yeah, I thought it was too, but it's not at all spelled that way. So
we're gonna have don't worry. One day we're gonna have a whole show on our mispronunciations, and we're gonna walk through each guy and figure out how to say it right.
I know it drives people crazy.
Yeah, sorry.
It does sound like, though, if he probably has a decent shot to make the team, but he'll start in a bottom six role, which is, I don't think, super shocking. So he'll have to work his way up the depth charts, earn some more offensive opportunities. But he's had to work for every step of the way. Nothing's been given to him at this point. So I don't think that should trip him up in any way. And again, because he played a number of playoff games, there's a good chance he's a Series 1 young gun.
Yeah.
Do you remember him in the playoffs?
Briefly.
I remember that them talking about how he was sort of a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next category, which are potential Series 2 rookies. So these are guys that have not played in an NHL game yet, and so cannot be Series 1. So we're going to have to look forward to maybe the spring. And because of that, of course, we're going to see a lot of guys that were drafted this summer that have a good chance to contribute right away. And the first one of those...
I was going to say, this is all the hype, baby. This seems kind of loaded with a lot of hype.
So Adam Fantilli, Troy, you heard of him?
Heard of him.
Yeah. If there was no Connor Bedard in this year's NHL draft, I'm guessing Adam Fantilli would have been the guy.
Yep.
I think you can also make the case, too, that would probably be a bigger prospect than anyone in last year's hobby class, too. So he's going to be overshadowed a little bit by the whole Bedard thing. That's okay. It'll be interesting to see how much, he's able to break out of that this year by hopefully playing well. He was electric last season for the Michigan Wolverines, scoring 30 goals, adding 35 assists for 65 points in 36 games played as a freshman.
Yep.
65 points in 36 games. That is, good enough to walk away with the Hobie Baker Award and enough to go straight to the draft and to the NHL, I guess. Now, we know the Blue Jackets are not very good, so that's going to give probably ample opportunity for Fantilli to jump in probably a top 6 role right away. Be surprised if he isn't. He's already shown a pretty decent connection with Patrick Laine in the preseason. My prediction, he'll be a fairly major chase if he plays well in Series 2. Like, people, not to the degree of Bedard, but his young guns will be selling for a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. And he'll be one interesting to watch to see what his values actually do. Do they get way overshadowed by Bedard? Do they stay a little depressed because of that? And can you pick him up rather cheap? Or does he become a major chase? Not the Bedard level, but does that drive pricing? So it'll be pretty interesting to watch that.
Now we're going to get back to another one of our beloved Gophers. The second Golden Gopher to make our rookie to watch list for 2023-24, Troy. This time it's Logan Cooley, who did shun another season with our Golden Gophers to head for the desert and play a mullet arena for the Coyotes in 2023-24. A little bit of a different situation for Cooley than his old teammate Matthew Knies, huh? One went to Toronto in the playoffs, and the other one's going to a 4,000 seat arena.
Yeah, Cooley originally said he was going to stay, right?
Yeah, he was going to come back.
He was going to stay back and stay for the national championship run, but then decided, nope, I'm off to the desert and mullet arena.
He had an awesome year for the Gophers last year. He's just 19 years old, had 22 goals, 38 assists for 60 points in 39 games played. Him and Matthew Knies were both Hobie Baker finalists, losing out to Adam Fantilli. He also played in the Under-20 World Junior Championships last season, and Troy only had 7 goals, 7 assists for 14 points in 7 games played. Dynamic offensive talent, should make the Yotes a little more fun to watch this year. And if he plays well, I think could be another significant Series 2 chase. So are you bullish on Logan Cooley? Now, to me, it seems like he has more potential to be a true NHL hobby star or NHL star and hobby star than Matthew Knies does.
Well, I'm definitely bullish because he hits all the spots for me. Gopher, exciting, young. Had that clip where he did the spinorama in preseason game. Yeah, preseason game this year. So he's got everything going for him. So I do think he's going to be a goal scorer in the NHL.
Next, I want to talk about is Leo Carlsson. I don't know. I didn't find much about that gave a clear indication what the odds are he's going to make the opening night lineup. I do think, though, that the odds are better than not, that the 18-year-old number 2 overall pick in this summer's draft will make the team. And remember, too, Anaheim took this kid over Adam Fantilli.
Yeah.
So that shows you how highly they think of him. The feedback out of Ducks camp has been pretty positive, but like with all rookies, they want him to earn it. So, and that's part of the challenge, too, is that no team at this juncture of camp is going to come out and say, oh, he's a lock to make the team, because they want them to have that little bit of doubt. But what's interesting, though, if you compare the narrative around Carlsson to Trevor Zegras, it's very apparent that Carlsson is Pat Verbeek's guy.
Yeah.
And while it seems Trevor Zegras is not, and we've talked about Zegras a bunch on the show in the last week or so, there's lots of talk about how hardworking, humble, and how much talent that Carlsson has. One of the things that people point out that probably makes him very appealing to Verbeek is, although at 18 years old, he has played something like a year and a half in the Swedish Professional Hockey League, which, aside from the KHL, might be the best European hockey league. And one of the really kind of tenets of that league is that forwards are expected to be very good defensively. It's not acceptable to, I guess, be a Trevor Zegras and just, make fancy goals. And so they said that his defensive game, and we'll go back to that 200-foot game cliche, is very, very evolved, in that, yes, he's very young, but he does have professional hockey experience in a league that is very, very competitive. And so that in of itself might make him more ready to play right away. And then speaking of Zegras, his absence is still unresolved with his contract situation. Plus, Isaac Lundestrom, who is their third line center, just tore his Achilles tendon. So there could be some openings for centers that the Ducks need filled. And again, that could provide an opportunity for Carlsson. Right. And so if he does make the team, who will he be paired with? Could he be paired with another exciting hobby potential star like McTavish? Those are, some, I think, fun things to think about. Again, another guy who plays well, could be a big time Series 1 chase. So if you think about this, we have Bedard, we have Fantilli, we have Logan Cooley, we have Leo Carlsson. I'm sure not all of them are going to do fantastic.
Yeah.
But that could, Series 2 could end up being just loaded Troy. And then the other thing I think about, and I want you to kind of jump in then, is it seems like that this year's draft feels like it's producing at the very top end more NHL ready talent than we've seen in a few years.
Agree. And I would point out too that a lot of these guys that we're talking about are college players, which is, we're seeing a trend of teams liking to get kids that have played college. And I don't know what that means. You're still getting your CHL guys, your European League guys like Carlsson. But I think that's another trend that we're kind of seeing a move to, these college guys making an impact or getting a lot of hype and getting drafted pretty high. With Carlsson, I know I read a story today where there is now some rumblings, little concern that he's had 2 exhibition games, no points, playing against not the elite team or the top opponents' lines and stuff. So there's some concern there. But again, that's 2 exhibition games of an 18-year-old. And if he's got Verbeek in his corner, that's a good thing for him making the squad, but we'll see what happens.
Our next guy, I honestly didn't know a lot about, but I got excited. And that's part of the fun of, like, just the whole, what makes chasing rookies fun is sort of the unknown nature, the guys that, you didn't know yesterday, but now you're kind of excited about today. And one of those guys for me is Logan Stankoven from the Dallas Stars. He's a center. Maybe if you're Canadian, I think you would know more about him, but us Americans don't, because he's had some success at World Juniors and stuff like that. But when you look at his last 2 seasons in the WHL for the Kamloops Blazers, he's been elite and was elite in the World Junior Championships as well. So I just got to roll through his stats for you here. So in his last 2 WHL season, here's the stat lines. In 2021-22, he had 45 goals, 59 assists for 104 points, 59 games played. 2022-23, 34 goals, 63 assists for 97 points, 48 games played. And in the last 2 World Junior Championships, in 2021, he had 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points in 7 games. And in 2022-23, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points in 7 games. Now, that's pretty good. One thing about him, though, and I actually didn't include this in the notes, Troy, is I guess he's like another one of these like teeny tiny itty bitty guys.
Yeah.
So that could be a little bit of an issue too. The other thing with Dallas is they're pretty stacked with top 6 talent. So if he's on the Ducks again, he's probably starting the season with the team. I have no idea. He might be an AHL kind of guy, but on the other hand, he's producing during the preseason too. So he's one where you could watch and find out. And if he does make the team right away, or he could end up being one of these guys where they do like those 8-9 game stints with, which gets him into series 2, but then he goes to the AHL. And because what we see with a lot of these guys is that if they're not playing in the NHL, when their young guns from series 2 or extended comes out, that they don't sell very high, but maybe next year he's got a more prominent role. And he's just, I think, a name, again, Logan Stankoven, that everyone should be following.
Yeah, he's with Dallas and
Dallas Stars.
And the only thing I really remember reading was, I think earlier today, Pete DeBoer actually said that Stankoven is looking like he belongs in the NHL, which is a pretty good praise for him. But again, he had some qualifiers saying, hey, it's the preseason. This isn't, you need to see 15 to 20 games in, or if they only go the 9-game route and decide it's not working yet. But that's pretty telling right there that he's at least got Pete DeBoer kind of impressed.
Now, the next guy is maybe another one of these under the radar guys too. It's Matt Coronado from the Calgary Flames. He's a right wing, 13th overall pick in 2021 NHL entry draft by Jeremy Lees, again, Flames. Played last couple seasons at Harvard, Troy, where in 2021-22, he had 18 goals, 18 assists for 36 points in 34 games played. And then last season, he had 20 goals, 16 assists for 36 points in 34 games played. So both years, 36 points, 34 games played. He did play in 1 game with the Flames last season. So I don't know if he would be a Series 1 guy or not. So maybe I have him categorized wrong here, but...
Never know.
Okay, now this is kind of funny. And I'll be the first to admit that at times I can be guilty of hyperbole, but... So in the Flames' first preseason game, they beat Vancouver pretty handedly 10-0. And Coronado had a hat trick to go along with an assist. So after the game, new Flames coach Brad Huska compared Coronado's shot to Brett Haltrey.
Interesting.
Pretty high praise.
Pretty high praise.
Maybe a little rich, but apparently he has a good shot. I think the presumption is that 20 years old, he will make the team and will be a regular this season. So he's a guy that, and a lot of people think that they'll rebound. So maybe there'll be some opportunity and maybe they'll play well this year.
Yeah, I saw Huberdeau look good so far.
Yeah, there you go. All right, next guy we want to talk about is another Simon Nemec, defenseman. So Troy, brother Luke is not the only top Devils prospect that could make his debut on the blue line for the Devils this season. The 19-year-old Slovakian defenseman Nemec, with a good finish to camp, could also make the opening night roster for the Devils. He was the 2nd overall pick in the 2022 NHL entry draft. Played all last season in the AHL with the Utica Comets, putting up 12 goals, 22 assists for 34 points in 65 games played. He was named to the 2022-23 AHL top prospects team, of course, based on his performance. And I think the challenge with him is he's big time prospect, number 2 overall pick. Is there enough shine to go around for all the potential? We talked about this a little bit last show with like you got the Hughes brothers, you've got Dawson Mercer, Alexander Holtz, people that still Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer, Nico Hischier, lots of people. So I think for Nemec to do some hobby damage, Troy, he's gonna have to not only, of course, make the team, but be a big time performer and probably play better than brother Luke.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough around this. And I'm such a bonehead. I thought he already played in the NHL, but
no.
I think I'm remembering he was a number 2 pick and he was above Shane Wright. So I just assumed he was already in the NHL, but he's not. But yeah, a lot of talent around to go around in New Jersey and a lot of people to chase.
Okay, the next guy I'm actually kind of excited about because I've seen him play. If any of you tuned into Connor Bedard's preseason debut last Thursday night against St. Louis, it would be very hard not to come away from that game not impressed by their defensive prospect, Kevin Korchinski.
Yep.
He was a monster in that game. Now, Bedard was good. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but he blew me away. He attacked the offensive zone relentlessly, is very fast. Like I said, super aggressive on the offensive side. And there is this play, I don't know if you saw it, where I think he rushed the puck into the offensive zone, takes it all the way to the net, shoots. The rebound goes to the Blues. They quickly push the puck up the ice, and it very quickly gets back to basically the Blackhawks blue line. And all of a sudden, Korchinski is there making the play.
Yep.
So he not only rushed to the net, he was the first person back, all the way back. He is lightning fast skating. Just crazy. He played in the WHL last season for the Seattle Thunderbirds, produced 11 goals, 62 assists for 73 points in 54 games played. Again, not bad for a defenseman. I'm pretty sure, too, that if we go, last time we had George Ross on the show.
I was just going to say that he was super high on him.
Very, very high on him. And George, of course, is the director of U.S. scouting for Spokane Chiefs in the WHL and would know Korchinski very, very well. I think it would make a lot of sense to bring him up now. You're building this young core. You got Bedard, you got Lucas Reichel. Why not get all these guys, take their lumps early on, and 2-3 years down the road have, again, a very solid young core that all have experience. So I wouldn't be shocked if he makes the team and plays really well. And such a great thing for Bedard too, to not, because you tend to think of like with guys like Bedard, well, who are the wings that he would end up playing with?
Yeah.
But if he can find his way on the ice with a very offensively talented guy like Korchinski, that elevates both of them, I think.
Yep, agree. He's fantastic. Like I'm like you, I saw him play in a preseason game, and he looked fantastic. He's just all over the place.
Yeah, he stood out amongst everyone.
Yeah,
I thought in that game. All right. Well, we do have one more category, and it's hard. We're gonna put Bedard in his own category. We're not gonna bother doing a bio for the Wonder Kid here either, unless you're living under a rock or this is your first day as a hockey fan. I think you know who he is. He of course, is a transcendent talent. The hype meter is at 11. If you've ever watched Final Tap. This hobby rookie class will not be normal because we're already seeing it. It's kind of nutty already. I'm really excited for our next show, Troy, because our main topic we're going to dedicate to collecting Bedard in a smart way or investing in him in a smart way, because there's going to be so many opportunities, really starting with artifacts, I think really soon, where it's going to get very nutty, and you could like blow a house on Connor Bedard before his Young Guns comes out. And so we have a lot planned around that. And so that'll be next show. We're going to have a special guest too that knows a thing or two about buying some big cards and big rookies. So again, stay tuned for that. We can't just leave out Bedard in our big rookie preview. So I thought today what would be appropriate is we're going to officially, Troy, do our Gong Show Connor Bedard predictions. Now we've gave some predictions before, but this is officially, we can't change our mind.
Okay.
We have 6 hobby related questions about Bedard, and that we will look maybe a year from now and look really stupid of course, because I'm sure we'll be totally wrong. So here we go.
All right.
We're both going to give our answers, writing these down. 1 week after the Series 2 release, what is his base Young Guns raw value? What does it sell for?
I've always been leaning in the 500 to 600 range, so I'll split the middle and say 550.
Okay, I had 500. So we're actually pretty close there. Interesting. His first Young Gun PSA 10 sale. What does it go for? Base.
I know I'm going to get hair. I just think someone's going to way overpay. I'm going to say 5,000.
Okay. Again, writing these down so we can make fun of each other down the road. I went 2,000.
Okay. I know I'm probably way off, but I feel like just someone's going to overpay for it.
These next two are a little tough, but they're fun anyways. A year from today, how many total public sales of $10,000 or more for Connor Bedard cards?
Oh, holy cow. Oh, I'll say I'm going to go 125.
Okay, I went 250, so it's funny. I went exactly double that.
Well, if I was smart, I'd look up a checklist and see. Like, I could probably predict like which cards. Look up all the checklists, the big ones.
Related question: a year from today, how many total public sales of 20,000 or more for Connor Bedard cards?
10.
I went 20. Again, you're exactly half.
God, I'm just having you.
So here's a very topical question. On release day for 2023-24 Series 2 hobby boxes, what is the price in US dollars?
In US, okay, what's the pre-sale? 200?
Yeah.
So on release day, are they going to try to get more squeeze? I'm going to go, I say they will. I'll go 275.
Okay, I said 250. So we're close.
Okay.
Again there. Price 275. This last one too would be very, very interesting. If it's a yes or no. So aside from Wayne Gretzky, no other player will sell more hockey cards in the next 12 months than Connor Bedard. Meaning he'll sell more cards than Connor McDavid.
I'm going to guess.
Yeah, me too.
Because he's already in the top when you do those top
He's
sales.
like in the top like 6
He's already in there and he doesn't even have any NHL cards besides the redemption right now, the MVP redemption.
So again, we just did that because we wanted to throw some Bedard content. Our next show is going to be very Bedard focused. And yeah, but you can't do a rookie review without mentioning Connor Bedard. So I do have a couple wrap-up thoughts though, Troy, before we move on. First of all, of course, there's names that we didn't mention that we probably could have that will have big years too. And that's part of the fun of sports and the NHL is there's going to be rookies and veterans that come from nowhere and surprise everybody, and can't wait for it. Secondly, I think this is a really important point that we all forget when these flagship releases come out. We're not going to have 18 new Mario Lemieux emerge this season. We're going to be lucky if one or two of these guys have lasting hobby impact. So if you're like an investing type person, I would say maybe do very, very careful research and choose wisely and find one or two to place your bets on. But probably the better strategy, of course, is always collect the players you like or intrigue you or are part of your favorite team and let the values shake out where they may, and don't collect players for values. You'll probably make more money in the long run. And I think just in general too, it's best not to count on hitting it big with rookies, right? The lottery fantasy applies here, right? Well, I'm going to buy Young Guns for $10. It's going to be $10,000 someday. That's great when it happens, but these guys' values, you're much better off if you want to make money in sports cards buying Wayne Gretzky cards, right? Because rookies are as volatile as it gets over the long run. I don't know. Anything else to add?
No, I'm super excited about the class, especially those guys that we could see in Series 2. And I agree with you. If you're looking at the investing side, be smart, do your research. Don't overpay right away. Remember, if it's the Young Guns you're going for, they will be plentiful. You will be able to get them at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And that's where I go back to, I guess my last thought on this is why I'm going to mention Thursday's show. Why I think it's really important because there's some people that are going to spend lots of money on Connor Bedard cards.
Lots
of money. And I would just hate to see someone get stuck with the bag, I guess, on some of those, or caught with the bag, whatever the metaphor is. You can get into real trouble because these cars are going to be insane prices.
Mm-hmm.
Just insane, probably cars and houses.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Trey, got to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. The current Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction is live. You can bid on all the cards by going to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction. I'm not even going to feign surprise anymore that there's great cards in this week's auction, because at this point, I think we've all come to expect it. I did go through the auction, though, yesterday, and here are a few of the favorite cards that I found. So there's a 2015 16 Premier Connor McDavid RPA at a 9. These are the acetate RPAs that I really like. Very, very big one, too. It is a 2-color patch, but it's kind of interesting, nice patch, and a McDavid rookie patch auto, so you can't beat that. Here's one we like, Troy. It's a 2020 The Cup Kaprizov. You ever heard of him?
I have.
Kaprizov? Exquisite RPA at a 97. Kind of a cool card. Maybe not the greatest patch ever, but man, these exquisite RPA patch windows are massive.
Yeah, I was trying to see. I thought there might have been a third color on the far right side.
I think it's a number patch.
Yeah, that looks not the greatest patch, but still a cool card.
Next one, Troy, is a guy we both love. 2020 The Cup, a Bobby Orr gold auto out of 12. Really nice card.
Look at that auto. Fantastic.
Great auto. I would love to have this card. Very, very nice card. Or how about a 2015 16, going back to Premier, Wayne Gretzky inked script auto out of 25. Very nice Gretzky auto card, too. Again, huge, clean auto on it. There's a lot of space around it. Really stands out. Really, really like that card. And then I had to go with this card, Troy, because I don't know if I've seen this card yet in the year plus doing this show. And it has a lot of bid activity already. He looks like he's like a kid wearing dad's hockey jersey.
Yeah.
2003 for Upper Deck, Dustin Brown, Young Guns PSA 10. Have you seen this card?
I don't remember seeing this card. I was looking up Dustin Brown. I thought he was from Minnesota. He's not. He's from Ithaca, New York.
I know a lot of big collectors out there, too. Again, just a few of the monster hockey cards. Be sure to check them out for yourself. Go to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction. If you just happen to be a Canadian hockey card collector that's interested in maybe moving some of your cards for cashing out, we recommend Slab Sharks for the eBay consignment services. They make it very easy, hassle-free to sell your cards via eBay. They do all the work, Troy. Taking the images of the cards, listing them, answering buyer questions, hunting down payment, shipping to buyers in both Canada and the U.S., and handling any post-auction issues with the buyer. And let's face it, none of that stuff is fun. So they'll just do it for you. Also, your cards get included in their very popular and growing every week weekly eBay auctions, meaning you're going to get tons of potential bidders looking at your cards. Again, check out slabsharks.com for complete consignment information and to get started today consigning your cards. Happy news!
Happy news.
So have you heard of this whole Beckett grading event thing?
I had no idea until you put it in the show notes, and I still don't have any idea. It seems nutty. Here's my one question. Is this the first time they've done this, or have you seen this in the past? And you might not know.
There's a rumor that is very plausible. Remember Beckett did that whole industry summit thing?
Yes.
I don't think it's happening. If I had to guess, and this is like a total shot in the dark, that they kind of bailed on the industry summit, but maybe couldn't get out of their agreement with the Sahara in Las Vegas.
Interesting. Yeah.
So in its stead are doing this Beckett Showcase VIP grading event. Yeah, so it looks like it's a combination of on-site grading packages and swanky VIP events that you can get access to if you buy one of these packages. We did an overview. So I have a lot to say about this, but I'm just going to go through it quick. It starts at $200 a card for on-site grading. If you do 100 cards, it gets as low as $75 a card. But there is kind of attached events as well, depending on the package that you buy, where you can get like rooms as part of it, or different like events, like casino events, or I think that there's a some other events that they have that are tied into it. And so here's my thing on this whole deal, and I'm kind of I've been in marketing for a long time. I don't get it. I see this as another huge branding misfire for Beckett Troy. What they seem to be doing is they're trying to like reposition themselves as a luxury brand, almost like take like the Rolex route. And it's not just this, but if you notice, like you go to like their Instagram or their Twitter, they very like intentionally gone like the whole like black on gold thing,
Okay.
a little more like clean, like minimalist. And again, having cool events is all fine and dandy, but it's just not. If I was Beckett, what I would be focusing on right now, first of all, cards that cost $200 to $75 to grade is just not the vibe. And I get it's on site. I get it. You get it back right away, but you also have to fly to Las Vegas,
Yeah.
or if you don't live there or can't drive from somewhere in California, I guess, to get this done. And so that adds a lot of cost. And then when you think about it too, what's the trend in the industry? You have PSA
Yep.
lowering their price, SGC dramatically lowering their price.
Yep.
So I just don't get let's massively increase our price, add a whole bunch of like frills, make it like some like VIP luxury event. I just don't know if they have that many brand loyalists that are gonna fly out to Las Vegas to attend a Beckett cocktail party. It's kind of like they think that they're like Apple. Like Apple has so many people that are just nutty about that brand that they
Yeah.
do like Macworld, and there's people that are lined up for miles to
Yep.
get in. Is Beckett in a position to do this sort of thing? Where I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, Troy. I don't know. Maybe there are people that are so into back. And I guess the last thing I'll say before I get your comment, again, it's like if you're Casio, you can't wake up one morning and say, "Oh, we're going to be Rolex now," and expect people to believe that. Instead of throwing these like events, and again, maybe they had to find something to do because they're locked
Yeah.
into this deal. What if you focused on customer service? What if you focused on quicker turnaround times? What if you focused on more consistent grading? What if you focused on lowering your prices to help bring market share? Again, going the sort of we're going to be the Armani of graders route is just, I just think it's a mistake. I don't know. Am I reading too much into it, or?
Oh no, I think you're on point. I'm curious, and this is the first time I'm hearing about all this, what the other events around this are. Because at first when you started,
I sent you the link. It's in the notes. You can pull it up.
oh, is that the job
Yeah.
forum thing? Okay, hold on a sec. On air production meeting, just a sec. All right, I'm gonna put it over here so we can all, if you're watching YouTube, they have the whole event registration form. It's hard to see, but
It's that bulleted list though that has the other
yeah.
events.
So I mean, okay, so I'm seeing you get event access, 3-night hotel. Okay, so there's some stuff included. That's what I was kind of wondering. It felt like really high, but now that I see what's included, it's I don't fault
What are
them
the
for
odds though
doing.
that like, let's say their capacity is on a 0 to 100 scale,
Yeah,
that you fly to Las Vegas for this and buy the $7,500 package,
yeah.
and there's like 4 people in a huge line.
Yeah, that's where it's
I don't know.
interesting. But
Maybe it'll be packed. I don't know.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out from this. I actually don't mind the initiative and trying this and seeing what happens. Maybe that's what they're going for. But the pricing, I mean, you do get some other stuff. It just seems really high. And maybe it's just because we're not the people this is after. We're not Beckett loyalists. I'm not spending that much money. I don't grade cards usually, so I'm not spending way more than what you normally spend. But it does seem like they are trying some kind of like branding realignment or something. You're way more marketing than I am. But yeah, it seems odd, but I'm curious what I hope we have a listener too that go to this and just give us a report or the vibe of what was going on.
So I'm going to spend more money to have my card be worth half of what a PSA 10.
Yeah. it's
I
definitely
don't know.
interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on. So, got tipped off on a signing event, Troy.
Yeah, I'll
Listener
bring it up
passed this
here.
along. There's a upcoming Cole Caulfield private signing presented by Fanatics.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting, given there's been a lot of auto issues with 2021 hobby class for rookies. So at first I had like a very like guttural instant reaction to this where I'm thinking, oh Lord, this is what's happening. Right? Fanatics is snatching up
Yep.
all these rookies, are signing them to exclusives. But what's interesting though is when you look at the fine print and you look at like what's included in like where you go up to, because I think it's like a mail order or mail in signing. Of course, you can get jerseys autographed, you can get photos. There's no cards.
So it's that they don't allow cards.
No cards.
Okay.
So this is where again I am so confused on this whole deal. Like what's going on with all the autos at Upper Deck? But at the same token, if there's a Fanatics Cole Caulfield signing and there's no cards, to me, the most logical reason for that is that he has an exclusive card deal with Upper Deck and that he can't sign cards at a Fanatic signing event, right?
It has to be something like that, or I was trying to think about the whole NHLPA agreements when they do these things for cards, but I think we've seen other guys do private signings that could do cards. They just weren't Upper Deck only. So I'm guessing you're probably right. We might have an exclusive with UD.
My biggest takeaway in this, though, and what I hope isn't brewing, is auto wars between manufacturing companies and trading card manufacturers and brands and whoever it may be. Because you may think that if Fanatic signs Caulfield to an exclusive auto deal, that Upper Deck's the loser. They're not. We are. The collectors lose. It's now you have one company. It's kind of like the NHL or the Players Association versus league license issues with what was it like with like the Fanatics deal and football cards or whatever. Where it's like the NFLPA is with Fanatics, but the NFL is with Panini. It's like if the cards are with Upper Deck, but the autos are with Fanatics, it's gonna suck.
Yeah,
and I'm just really annoyed by this whole thing that's happening and. It's like you're killing your customers fighting a war between yourself.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I'm annoyed, and I do think there's a war brewing. I think some stuff is going to come out in the next year or two. Because how do you differentiate yourself, or how does Fanatics try to get their foot in? I think there's something brewing with some of this stuff. That's going to stink.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, Troy, kind of some not so great news out of Tampa Bay Lightning training camp.
Yeah, no good.
Andrei Vasilevsky had back surgery and will miss 8 to 10 weeks. I would think he's essential to, or an essential component to any plan they have to make the playoffs this season. So they're going to have to limp along without him. Do you think he hurt his back on that save?
He might have. That looks quite strenuous.
You teach that? So the big cat just turned 29 years old. I'm going to see if I can pronounce this right. He had a microdiscectomy to address a lumbar herniation, which I translate to herniated disc.
Yep.
Which I think that's code for, of course. The 8 to 10 weeks could sideline him for up to 25 games or 30% of the season. So I have a couple questions around this that I really want to get your perspective on. Troy, I know back surgeries are a huge deal for any athlete, but is there like a particular greater concern for goalies, or is it just kind of like you would have for any athlete?
It's huge. Backs are huge. I would be more concerned if it was hip. Hip is really where you start worrying with goalies, and knees a little bit, but any of those back, hip, knee are worrisome. And I think the 8 to 10 weeks is optimistic. Obviously, I'm not a medical person. I have no clue. I hope he's back, but that stuff gets a little worrying. Especially he's young still, 29. So you don't like seeing this stuff happen under 30.
Are you a big Vazzy guy? Do you think this is a huge loss for Tampa Bay?
Oh, I think it's a big loss. I love Vazzy. Yeah, I would feel for the Lightning for losing him, and I think they're going to struggle.
Now, of course, one man's injury becomes another's opportunity in professional sports. There's a couple of young guys. These are maybe some names to remember a little bit, write down maybe. So Matt Tompkins, I think was Canada's goalie in the Olympics or the World Championships or something like that, has not played in the NHL yet. And then Hugo Alnfelt. Looks like those, I think they signed another veteran, but those are the young guys that might get some opportunity to shine. So again, just names to remember. Andrei Vasilevsky is a 2014 young gun. His PSA 10 pop 224. Low pop. Last sold for $313 US.
One of the greatest goalies of our generation.
Yeah. It's down 17% in the past 3 months, 34% in the past 6 months. Troy, all-time high for this card, $1,300 US in January of 2022.
That's where it should be, dang it. That wasn't me.
Wasn't you. Finally, wasn't you. Last hobby news story, got to talk about, of course, our boy, Connor Bedard, made his preseason debut, of course, last Thursday night for the Blackhawks. They played the Blues. Now, listen, it's a preseason game, and normally teams are like 50-50 with their NHL roster versus prospects, so you can't read too much into it. But Bedard did look pretty good. He was composed, confident with the puck. He assisted on both Chicago goals, had a number of shots, had a great pass for the overtime game winner.
Kind
of made my guy, Scotty Prunovich, look silly on both goals, which was unfortunate there. He did have a breakaway, too. The puck was bouncing all over the ice. But he made a nice steal on the puck. Didn't score, but also didn't do anything to dampen, I don't think, the hype at all. And more, he looks like the real deal, of course. He played tonight, too. They got smoked by Detroit, like 6-1.
Oh, really?
He did have, I think, 4 shots tonight. I did see a highlight. He made a really sick move, but the goalie...
he made that. It was on a D guy. He made another sick move on a D man.
Kind of between the leg.
Oh, my gosh. And it's crazy because he moves the puck so fast. And it's like his body, your mind is a D. You see him going one way, and in your mind, there's no way he's cutting back. All of a sudden, he contortions his shoulders and arms, puts the pucks between his leg, or the puck between his legs, and takes off. And then the space he created from that move was insane.
Okay, Troy, we ready to move on to new product releases?
Yeah, let's do it. New product releases.
Got another new set coming out this Wednesday, 2021-22 premiere.
Did we get the checklist emailed to us this time?
No.
See,
working on that. Working on
it. We've been put off a list for some reason.
I don't know. Maybe they're not happy with us. I don't know. So the checklist is out. The set comes out Wednesday, September 4th. As a bit of a preview, I want to go through some of the key highlights on the checklist. Maybe help you decide if this is a release for you or not. So I'm just going to skip right to it, Troy. The biggest question, get that out of the way. All 2021 rookies do have autos in Premiere.
All right.
Now, are they hard signed? That's a good question. We haven't seen if this is the case or not. To me, it'd be a big disappointment if we have another premium release with key rookie sticker autos. But I would almost be more surprised, I guess, in a good way, if they didn't at this point. It just feels like that they're kind of in a run where all these sets are going to feel like they're a little problematic. Now, Troy, what's important to know, well, every rookie you would want is on the checklist. So these are guys like Caulfield, Zegras, Sider, Raymond, Swayman, McTavish, etc. For a few of these guys we've seen issues with lately, their print runs have been reduced in certain subsets in Premiere. So I'm going to give a couple of examples. So in the rookie base autographs set, both Trevor Zegras and Sider only have 101s. And then a guy like Caulfield, his pack odds for a base rookie autograph is 1 in 3,084 basically boxes. So you say, well, what does that mean? Well, the second lowest pack odds for a base rookie is 1 in 617 for Lucas Raymond and Quentin Byfield. So 5 times worse odds to get a Caulfield rookie base auto. Now there's a super rookie auto patch subset. There's 17 rookies. There's no Sider, no Raymond, Zegras, and the Caulfield is out of 15, while all 16 others are out of 49. So I kind of feel like that they're kind of limping with whatever issues they're having, trying to make sure that these guys are in the sets, but maybe reducing the number of autos in some capacity. There's jersey auto cards that are usually out of 99 or 25. Zegras and Sider, again, are only the 101 patch auto parallel. and Caulfield and Raymond are in the lower quantity out of 25. Another big noteworthy change in Premier Troy is, I think my favorite card from the set is the Premier Acetate Auto Patch cards. For the past few years, these have been out of like 199. We just talked about in Slab Sharks. There's a McDavid out of 199. Looks like that they've kind of have two levels now, that either 249 or 99. And so rookies like Caulfield, Ziegler, Swayman are now out of 99, essentially 100 less auto patches there. Any reaction to that?
No, I was while you were reading it, I went out to the sell sheet, and I'll just say this: when you talk about the autos, the sell sheet does list, like, it does say hard signed autograph parallels. So just remember that. So hopefully it stays true to that. Yeah. I can't remember if I didn't. I can't look through every one of them, but there's a lot of things that say hard signed. So just hopefully that stays true.
Probably my favorite card from Premier is the Mega Patch cards, and I think I have an example here. If you're watching on YouTube, picture of a chest Mega Patch from McDavid. What an awesome card!
Yeah, that's sweet.
That is. These are hand numbered, which I love. I'm a big fan of hand numbered cards, of course. They're numbered between out of 18 and 27, from what I saw in the set. They also have like mega duos subset featuring 2 players. Honestly, though, the checklist is not very. I mean, I love the concept, but I'll give you an example. So, like the Oilers mega duos, Troy, is Darnell Nurse and Tyson Berry.
That's always a mailbag question every once in a while. Like, does having another player that's nowhere near the talent of the other player on the card hurt the value?
Yeah, and then for guys that are like bigger names, like there's like Ovechkin. I think there's a John Carlson. Not that John Carlson's bad, but it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. There's this card I'm really excited about. Rookie Patch-taculars, chess logos, 68 rookies, most are out of 25. There are a bunch of Legends autos in Premier. So I wrote down kind of the notable guys. You have like Gretzky, Lemieux, Timu, Solani, Martin Brodeur, Wendell Clark, Brett Hall, Henrik Zetterberg, Dominik Hasek, Iginla, Yager, Madano, Nicholas Lidstrom, Ray Bork. So a good roster of Legends autos. There are one more note on the checklist is there are 2020 updates again. Yeah. I think there's like 4 or 5 rookies, some vet stuff. Of the rookies and the updates, Dylan Cousins is probably the biggest name. It looks like he probably wasn't included in the 2020 Premier release. And then looking at the box breakdown and costs, again, another one of these products we've been talking about, a 1-pack box, 6 cards in the pack. You get 1 auto per box, 2 memorabilia cards, 1 acetate auto patch. Pre-selling in the US, Troy, for $250 US. That comes down to $42 US a card. And $360 Canadian dollars in Canada, $60 CAD per card. So thoughts on Premier? You gonna buy any boxes? 6 cards.
I'm not right now. I say no. I'm not buying any boxes. I'm kind of burned out by the 1-pack few cards thing. I need a flagship release to kind of get me jonesing again. So right now, probably not, but it can always change.
I really like Premier, but I think I'm a little skittish with all the stuff that's been going on. Yeah. So I think I'm going to wait and just kind of not opening day or release day, just see what's happening. But I'm a big fan. I like the set, like the designs. You can go look at the sell sheet. I think they did a really nice job on the cards. So. Well, one last thing, a new product releases, Troy. It would not be a Gongshow podcast if we didn't have another 2023-24 Series 2 hobby presale update. So almost like clockwork. And I have, this because I sent the evidence.
Yeah, you sent it to me like 8 a.m. Like,
got another email from David Adams about last chance to get Series 2 before it's gone with the same now or never language. So at first, I honestly thought that David Adams was like effing with me here, and that they're playing a joke on me, like somehow they got the show or whatnot. But sure enough, I go to their site the next morning and Series 2 sold out.
Yep.
So I went, I checked Steel City. I went to Blowout in the US, sold out. Sold out too at Cloud Sanchara in Canada. So here's what I want to say about this. Number one, I'm confused. Does David Adams think that there's multiple nevers? Are we in a never multiverse?
Well, maybe.
I also love too that email I forwarded to you is the exact same email I got the week prior. So they didn't even change it. They just sent it again. And now I'm starting to wonder how many times Series 2 is going to sell out now between or between now and when it comes out next spring.
Uh-huh.
Like, is the over under for Series 2 sellouts like at 50 at this point? I don't know. It's like, why does it keep selling out every week? And then you get now or never. Do they? I don't think they understand what that means, right?
Who knows? Maybe like, I don't know. Maybe every week Upper Deck saying, okay, we'll allocate you this much more now. I don't know. It seems really odd. It's not a good look. We know what you're doing. I wish they would take that marketing back a little.
Yeah, I'm not panicking. I kind of feel it's more like the boy that cried wolf with some of these online retailers at this point. What I'm curious to see is if it's in stock again when the show drops tomorrow morning, like it was last week, right? So if it's like sells out, then automatically the next day is back in stock. And then B, if the price is going to change.
Yep.
Will it go up again? So yeah, we'll keep following it. We'll see what happens. It's just gives me another thing to do every day.
Yep.
Track this. Okay, got to make a quick mention for PWCC, Gongshow partner and sponsor. Of course, thanks to them for supporting our show. I don't think we talk about it enough, but their fixed price marketplace has some really cool hockey cards. So there's 5,400 hockey cards and over 93,000 cards in total in the PWCC fixed price marketplace. On the hockey side, Troy, there's super high-end stuff like McDavid Cup RPAs. I think Cale Makar's the Cup 101 Shield Patch Auto is in there. And then there's some cheaper, more modern stuff too. So a lot to appeal to really every level of hockey card collectors. So to browse through the cards on the fixed price marketplace or to bid in the current PWCC weekly auction, you can go to their website, PWCC Marketplace, and get it's like a conduit to all their different options to look at hockey cards there. And then another reminder, make sure to tune into our PWCC weekly auction watch party each Sunday night at 8:30. Jeremy Lee's YouTube Sports Cards Live channel. I think we're off for a couple weeks, but once we'll be back towards the end of October. Have a lot of fun doing the show. Just finished doing it before we recorded this one. Okay, another big mailbag, Troy.
Yep, here we go, mailbag.
Power through this. Had some really good questions in it again this week. And so the first one is from M. Miller 20910. Interesting. Have not been asked about this before. How will AI affect the hobby? The biggest impact I see so far is a negative one. AI generated eBay descriptions that sellers are not reviewing. I saw a title and description advertise an autograph card, but the photo showed no signature. Also, I saw a listing where the title, description, and photo showed 3 different PSA ratings or grades, I'm guessing. I politely contacted both sellers and they apologized and said they used eBay's AI generator and didn't check carefully enough. Are you got a comment on this, Troy?
Yeah, I didn't even know about eBay's AI generator, but when I read this question, I actually have seen a lot more errors, it seems like, in eBay listings recently. Now, I don't know if that's like a recency thing. I saw the question, then I started seeing them, but I think descriptions will definitely be an issue right now, as I don't know how eBay's AI model works and how it gets trained and everything, but descriptions I could see being a real big issue. But where I think AI and things like Chat GPT can be useful, and I've said this before on the show, and it's like in the historical realm when we were talking about like past hobby box prices, what they went for. And right now it's either it from knowledge, you tracked it in some spreadsheet, you could find it online in a form, or you can use the internet Wayback Machine, but that can be hit or miss depending on when the sites were crawled, and finding that information can be tough sometimes. And I think Chat GPT intrigues me in that way, where if you lay out your question right, there's ways to use Chat GPT that are a lot more accurate, or to make it more accurate, you can find some interesting data. So I think that's one place that will be pretty useful. Now, as these models get more sophisticated, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of really interesting uses, like on price movements and history. I know people are starting to see it with stocks.
Yeah.
Can that actually go to cards? That would be really intriguing. But AI excites me. I'm not up to date on it in the hockey card, sports card realm, how it's being used.
It's exciting and terrifying all the same.
Yep.
Probably the best way I can put it. Okay. From Instagram, love brother Luke. Oh, my Luke Hughes fan or what? When will 2022-23 OPG Platinum be released? You want to start?
Oh, I always want to answer these questions with the Tesla response soon. Like when is this going to go out soon? But I mean, best answer I can give you is 1 to 2 weeks after the checklist drops. Most sites I know have a release date of TBD. I think Josh, you actually found a date on a site that had not a TBD date. So I just think it's coming, but I wonder too if they're looking at this release with a little more eye on QC after how kind of bad the last release of Platinum was. So maybe that will delay it a little bit.
Yeah, I'd rather have them delay and fix and have the centering be better.
Yep.
That'd be my vote. David Adams is showing October 25th, but we've seen it before. Like, I've been really closely tracking Parker's Champions. That was supposed to be released like in April and been pushed back a million times. So I don't believe that it's imminent, but it doesn't mean it isn't. But I think you put it best, Troy, 2 weeks after the checklist or week after the checklist comes out. All right, Instagram, McDavid Last Print Dan. How much of a premium does a last print card, like 5 out of 5, 25 out of 25, 99 out of 99, etc., demand? It's aesthetically the best looking and possibly the hardest to hit. He says, given I've seen Upper Deck send a lot of higher end card replacements with the last print, which means they keep those out of circulation. Well, I think there's kind of two parts to this. The first I'll say is I don't, in my mind, it doesn't hold a premium. Like people call it the bookend, either the first or the last. The jersey number definitely has a premium, but to me, I haven't seen, I guess, repeatedly, maybe 1 or 2 collectors would really value that. And so you could get a little bit more out of them. And then I haven't heard anything, Troy, about Upper Deck holding on to the last print runs as
it makes sense.
It does make sense. And it's very interesting to me. And maybe we should ask them.
About it. We can ask them about that. I always thought the first one would have held. I don't know. To me, for some reason, the one seems it would hold more value than the last. But again, I don't have them that much history on last print runs of cards. But it's definitely something we'll ask Upper Deck about.
Our next question from Instagram, Jimmy Colossus. I'm sure it's been asked already, but does Upper Deck plan to fulfill redemptions anytime soon that have been in since February?
Soon. That's my answer. It's soon. No, it's a great question. And I think Upper Deck's actually pretty good with redemptions. I've had a couple, or I've probably had 4 or 5 in my lifetime, or not my lifetime, last 3 years. And I've gotten them within a reasonable time. However, my most recent one is taking a lot longer. And I know every situation's different. Sometimes it's logistical, player issues, something else. I'm still waiting on a Pekka redemption from November of 2022, and I submitted it. So that's coming up on a year. Yikes. And we've heard from other collectors that it seems they're like artifacts redemptions, right? It seemed like, I can't remember if it was artifacts or there's some redemptions that seem like are taking a long time.
Oh, people are going to be itchy for their Bedard redemptions, especially at artifacts. And I'm guessing it'll take a while there too.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Instagram, Flips Cards. How do you think the chase for Bedard's Young Guns rookie card will affect the value of Young Guns of other likely Series 2 players such as Fantilli, Cooley, Carlson, etc.? Will they be sky high because of the chase for Bedard? I honestly think that their values are going to be mostly dependent on how they play. We might see a little bit of like, I don't know, like high pop counts, maybe. I'm trying to think like how could Bedard affect that? And
if someone spends all their money on Bedard rather than going after these other guys,
yeah, maybe that. But maybe the two that I guess I would expect Series 2 to have huge print runs. And so down the road for guys like Carlson or Fantilli or Cooley, they may have really high pop counts. As a result. That's probably I think the most likely thing. Anything to add to that or no?
No, I mean I get the question, and I think there could be a little bit of depression of their values, but I don't think a lot. Again, it's coming down how you play. And if you come out the gates and you're fantastic, the market will usually reflect that.
Next question from Instagram, Chili Hockey Cards. Which of the current annual releases is your guys' least favorite? It could be an aesthetic you just don't vibe with, price to hit ratio, or just a product you don't really like for completely arbitrary reasons.
Yeah.
Want to go first?
Yeah, I'll do Upper Deck Ice just because the logo bugs me. It's one of the biggest baby issues I've ever had with the set.
What's an arbitrary reason?
It's an arbitrary reason. I just don't like the logo. SP Game Used because I still don't like that same Game Used and has manufactured stuff. And then Leaf of Leafs Art of Hockey was definitely not my favorite set. I actually had a lot of issues with it. The artwork.
That was hideous. We opened that up at my cabin, and it was
And it's not just that it's a bad box, but you look online and there was some pretty bad art. And I think
art was horrible.
I think I was actually pretty excited for the product. Like I liked what they were doing. It was a new release, I believe. But you had the Manon Rhéaume picture is just awful. Nowhere near, like I don't even know how that card got approved. But and there's some other examples too. Like even the Teemu Selanne that I had, just a little off.
And the numbering was really goofy. Like you couldn't find any of your cards.
Yeah. The checklist, finding your number or what parallel you had based on the number was a little weird. So that's fine.
All right. I'm going to say SB Game U is just like you. I don't love the fact that there's a lot of manufactured patches in there. It kind of defeats the name. And then this one really hurts because I did not like credentials and I was so excited for this product. And the reason is it was missing almost all the key rookie autos, and it's a rookie auto driven product. So, but I love the designs. I love the concept. Really kind of, it's a bummer in that regard. All right, next question. Instagram, ComAv Cards. Which young core has the best chance to be hobby relevant in the next 5 years? Buffalo, Detroit, or Columbus? All right, Troy, you want to go first?
When I did my first gut reaction was Buffalo, but then as we started talking about the rookies, I think I'm going to lean towards you and Columbus, but I do love Buffalo with what they got brewing, and I'm a Devin Levi Bobo, so I'll stick with Buffalo, but you're going to make Columbus is exciting too.
I went with Columbus. I just think of like Fantilli, Ken Johnson, Kirill Marchenko, David Urasek, lots of young talent that can end up being pretty good. They'll probably have some growing pains for a few years, but I also think too that in particular, both Fantilli and Johnson have the flash and flair to their games where they could really be hobby stars if they pan out. Instagram, Cody Raposa. One thing I've noticed in breaks is that there are some teams that really never hit or rarely hit, like the Rangers, for example, even though they have some notable players on their roster or prospects. Is there a specific reason for this?
I love this question because every time I'm in a break, this is what happens. Then my teams never hit. No, I just think it all comes down to the checklist and how many cards are produced for them. Kind of obviously, but you actually have to probably download the checklist. Look how many cards are from your favorite team. And Beckett actually does a nice job when they put their checklist out and they put their summary. You can go see how many cards or what cards are for each team. Or if you just do it yourself, do a pivot table in Excel on the Excel or on the Upper Deck spreadsheet when they release it. And you can kind of figure out what's going on and where it could be some of the teams you're buying just don't have that many hits or that many cards. Yeah. Or it just comes down to variance or luck, whatever you want to call it. I always call it variance, but usually layman's term is luck and bad luck. And I have that a lot in breaks, like probably most people.
Totally agree. I think too that the checklist varies, especially for vets and legends and for a team like the Rangers. So before you buy into any break, you should go look at that checklist of a team that you're interested in, especially if it's like a pick your own team or pick your team situation, and make sure that you're comfortable with the amount of hits and what you think are the quality of hits for that team.
Yeah, because it's definitely it's not an equal amount of cards for each team.
Yeah. All right, Instagram, the real McCards. He has 2 questions. Question number 1. Which would you rather have for your PC not to sell? A Cup True RPA, a last print exquisite RPA, which is the jersey number that has the bigger patch, or a rookie year Cup limited logos, which is not the true rookie RPA, but has a much bigger game used patch and a shorter print run than the true out of 99 or out of 249 RPA. So I think we're both on the same page. Like we're both pretty big limited logo guy, right?
For sure. With this card for my PC, I'm not looking to sell it. I'm not investing in it. It's limited logos all the way for me.
Yeah. And then he asked, what are some retired players you wish there was more high-end product that you'd absolutely PC if you could get the autos, game use patches, like Cup Exquisite, Ultimate cards for? For example, I really wish there were more high-end Adam Foote, Avalanche, or Nordiques cards, and I wish there were more high-end Solani and Korea Avalanche cards. Just a couple guys that came to name for me were like Pavel Bure, which I know is having a little bit of a renaissance.
Yeah.
Sergei Fedorov, Mike Modano, Phil Esposito, Peter Stastny, Mike Bossy. I just don't feel like we see a lot of especially like patch autos or stuff like that. I know there are some, but I think a lot of those are like 10 plus years ago.
There might be a limited logos that came up for auction on eBay. I can't remember if it already sold.
But that was that was 15 years old or something like that. Right?
Yeah, it was
like more current stuff.
Yep. I'm with you. I actually didn't do much. I forgot. I missed this question, but the Fedorov one I know, and I remember someone put in the comments of our Instagram, I think, is like, don't look at his current comments on the whole situation with Russia and Ukraine. I'm like, okay, I won't. But yeah, Bury, another one. Those older Russian players.
Here's an exciting question from Instagram. It's freaking Polly. It's Dimitri. Josh, as the president of the GPPC, I've seen you get on boards with the likes of Draisaitl, Stützle, and JJP. Don Jason Paterka. To fully secure your membership, may I suggest Lucas Reichel as well? Sincerely, it's freaking Polly, who's the president of the GPPC, the German Players PC Consortium. Walter, I've received official correspondence, which is very exciting. Thank you for the letter, Mr. President. Appreciate it. It's not every day I receive a letter from a prestigious organization such as the GPPC, but also, though, if it is the German Players PC Consortium, shouldn't it be the GPPCC?
Oh, you're already arguing with the president? Yeah, great. You're going to get kicked out in the first 5 seconds of your membership.
But all that being said, if it gets me in, then Reichel to the moon, baby.
Yeah.
And Troy, sorry, it looks like memberships are filled.
Yeah, I guess I'm not in. I'm not in.
Okay, I love this next question, and oh man, I cannot wait to get into this. So from Instagram, Kevin Cormier, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, but oh gosh. He says, I'm not sure if this has been discussed, but the Bedard hype brings me back to 2005 and Crosby. If Bedard has Crosby's career, is he a bust? Also, UD caught Crosby in a Series 1, both Bedard and Series 2. What effect does that delay have on Bedard's rookie cards released before Series 2 comes out? More demand than Crosby rookie cards between Series 1 and Series 2. So, Kevin, if Bedard has a similar career to Sidney Crosby and he's a bust, I honestly think we all need to get our heads checked.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that if it is a bust, are you saying he has to have a Gretzky career or that's it? Because Crosby, I would love it
Crosby's
if he had
an all-time. Yeah, whether you like Crosby or not, you can't argue he's had an all-time NHL career. But it does bring up the point, though, and I'm not saying it's a bad question or it's a bad point. The expectations of this kid are insane. Mm-hmm. It's almost even inconceivable to see him living up to them in some degree. And but I talked about going back to our show on Thursday when we're going to talk about kind of a smart Bedard strategy. I think the hoopla before Series 2 is going to be nutty, especially if he plays well. And there's going to be a lot of people kind of spending their bankroll before Series 2 comes out because we're just going to be mesmerized by the shiny new toy in front of us and not think about the long game and the probably the next 18 months of 2023-24 releases that are going to come out featuring Connor Bedard. Anything to add to that?
No, it's a great thought-provoking question. Probably deserves its own segment, rather.
Yeah, it's a good question. Instagram, Cards Age. Why do you think rookie breakouts from Flagship don't hold much hobby value? They seem like a great insert. I think this is another fantastic question. If you haven't looked up rookie breakouts, they're pretty awesome looking cards. I'm a fan of them too. If I had to really guess, Cards Age, is that it's an acetate rookie out of 100, I think, and Ice Premiers is kind of that already, and that sort of has the brand cachet within the hobby. But I can't. And then there's Clear Cut, which are Young Guns, which are acetate, and so maybe it competes with those in a certain way. But there's just so many mysteries in this hobby that just chalk this up as another one. Yeah. Have you seen these rookie breakouts?
I have not actually.
They're really cool.
Yeah, I'll look. I want to look them up, but not having know that much about them, when you get competing different cards with the same kind of feel or what they're going for, I can see that kind of hampering whichever one's not the most well regarded.
Yeah. All right, Michael or Braun. I don't know if his name's Michael. I'm just gonna guess. We're just Braun from Discord. He has 2 questions. First one is McDavid had 153 points last season. Do you think he matches that or over under?
All right, McDavid time. I said he matches. I say he matches for sure. I'm confident he will match. He seems to get better every year. His age is now 26. He'll turn 27 during the year. So he's hitting his prime, those prime years that we love to talk about. And I think he matches plus or minus 5 points is what I put down. So we'll look at the end of the season. We'll try to remember this. And when I'm way off, you can all make fun of me. And then just for fun, I went and looked at DraftKings to see what they put his regular season point total at. And it looks like it's minus 115 at over 135.5 and under 135.5. So you got to bet, you bet $115 to win 100.
Yeah.
So you can calculate the percent. I think it's 57-ish, somewhere in there. But that's what we're at.
Next question. Do you think the Toronto Sport Card Expo will have record attendance this year? What card or cards are you guys hoping to pick up?
I love this question. I have no idea. I don't even know what the attendance record is or what the attendance is each year. I don't know if it's public information. We can definitely reach out and ask because we know the people that run it and ask them if they ever release that information. But here's the thing. I'm taking all this anecdotal evidence. We have heard from so many listeners, friends of the show, that are planning on attending for the first time. Plus, with the Bedard hype that hopefully continues, I think barring no injuries, no playing terrible, that I think that all these kind of factors are getting in this melting pot to be a big attended event. And I'm really excited for it, even though I don't like big crowds. I think it could be pretty well attended and be pretty packed. As for specific cards, I always go in kind of the open mind. I always look for Pekka Rinne's. I'm still looking for one of my best friend's dad's card. There's one out there, one card that was produced. I haven't found it yet. And then I will get suckered into buying wax like I do all the time.
You'll mainly buy wax. We know you. Yeah, I think it's going to set records. The 3 things that I have on my target list right now for fall are either McDavid, Ovechkin, or Gretzky, Glopichi.
Mm-hmm.
Some maybe more sweet 2012 Fleer retro inserts like Jambalayas or Noise Boys or Essential Credentials, that sort of type stuff, or more 90s inserts. Next question, Instagram, Nick Niggins. What do you think of the Cup NHL Glory manufactured shields out of 10? I think they look really nice, but I'm just not a fan of manufactured memorabilia personally.
Yeah, I'm going to personally offer Upper Deck my own money to get rid of manufactured patches or tell the NHL to produce more stuff that they can use.
And again,
I get it. I get why they're in there. I get why they're in there. Don't.
And I don't ever want to be like too critical of this kind of stuff because it doesn't make it bad. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
And it's subjective, right?
Yep.
Next question, Instagram, goalie 3537, favorite product. So we've had least favorite and now favorite product release this year. I'm going to say for my money, SP Legends Signature Edition and Troy's favorite ice. The 2 top products. I also really like Fleer Ultra. I just wish it would have been a physical release as well, not just an e-pack exclusive. But once I got the cards in hand, I really, really liked them.
Yep.
Troy?
SP Legends Signature Edition, hands down.
Last question from Discord, T. Olson, 70. Do you think PSA will be dethroned as the number 1 go-to for grading? It's difficult to make a decision to try a different or newer grading option like Tag when the market turns their noses at anything other than PSA or BGS to a lesser degree. I would say I'm not a PSA fan, but again, and I think we made this point before.
Yeah.
For PSA to get knocked off the top of the mountain, how much collector value is lost in that process? Like billions of dollars, maybe. And so to some extent that I think is going to help keep them on top. Now that doesn't make them imperceptible to, if that's right. It's like
Immune,
way early in the
invisible.
morning here.
Yeah.
Invincible, imperceptibles. Yeah. Okay. Invincible. Someone like an innovator or upstart like Tag.
Yeah.
So I think people can chunk away at it. And I think if anything, it's just people will maybe level out their market share a little bit where they won't dominate quite to the degree that they have.
And just remember, at one point, PSA wasn't the biggest. BGS was king. You can always flip.
True that. Okay, Troy, we got to end the show like we always do with personal pickups. We always start with you.
Yep. None. This is where I complain that hockey has started. My time to look for cards now goes to pretty much non-existent, but I have not picked up anything lately.
I did one deal since our last show. Made another trade on my card post. Man, they're adding more and more cards each day. I think they're up to almost 6,000 cards now, which is crazy. So I traded a Trevor Zegras Young Guns Raw for this 2015-16 Trilogy Nico Rantanen rookie auto out of $4.99. I just think it's kind of a cool looking card.
Yeah.
It is honestly, here's why I did it, is that he had 55 goals. We talked about it's such a long shot if you ever has hobby relevance. But I wanted to place a small bet, and I felt like the cost wasn't there, and it's a cool card.
Yep.
So I thought, and a lot more rarer, of course, than a Trevor Zegras Young Guns.
Yeah.
And who knows what's happening with that situation. So that was my pickup. Well, we made it, Troy.
We made it.
If you like the episode, please leave a rating review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. And if you love the show, how could you not? Troy's on it. You want to support us, want to chat with us every day on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our on a $1.99 support level tier on Patreon. The link is in the show description or in the YouTube description. It's on our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com. You can go to the Patreon website directly, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. Or in our Instagram or TikTok profile, there's a link there to our Patreon. We are on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. Welcome to October, the month of the start of the NHL season. We have a big show slated for Thursday. Cannot wait for it. Have a great start to your week, and we'll talk to you soon.